When you serve a prison sentence in Barbados, you get time off every year for good behavior.
Okay, because I know you spent 17 years,
yeah,
correct?
So basically, he would have been in detention for a total of 19 years. A total of 19 years.
This is including
the 3 years. You get, in our system, if you are in prison and you do not breach the prison rules, you do not run afoul of the prison authorities, you get 3 months off for every year. You get a discount of 3 months for every year. So he got a discount, so his 20-year prison sentence would have been reduced to approximately 16 months. Raul Garcia was born in Cuba in 1954. As we know, he left Cuba at the age of 10 in 1964. And there's a little background to that is important to this story that I don't think has been fully appreciated up to now. In 1959, we had the Cuban Revolution. And we had a revolutionary government taking over in Cuba at the conclusion of the revolution. Mr. Garcia's family, for whatever reason, had a falling out with the revolutionary government, causing them to leave Cuba in 1964 for the United States. As we are all aware, Cuba and the United States have been in a Cold War situation since the early 60s. So from the perspective of the Cuban government, this is a family that has given up on Cuba, has left Cuba, has opted for the United States, and they become, in a sense, part of that Miami Cuban community. And so I think this is something that has not been fully appreciated yet when people keep talking about the necessity of Cuba, the Cuban government accepting back. I think we need to understand some of those Cold War realities. So Garcia leaves Cuba at the age of 10 with his family and does not return to Cuba since 1964. So he's been out of Cuba now for close to 50 years. The vast majority of his life is spent in the United States of America. So I just want to shed that light on that situation, which might explain some of the difficulties in him being able to easily return to Cuba. I guess from the perspective of the Cuban government, he is America's problem. He is America's issue. He grew up in America, socialized in America. As far as the Cubans see it, he is more the responsibility of the United States. He came to Barbados as a drug mule. That is what he was, pure and simple. He was a drug mule, assisting in the transshipment of some drugs that were intended not for Barbados, but for North America. He was intercepted by the Barbados police. He was arrested. He was charged. He was found guilty by the court. A sentence was imposed. He appealed against the conviction and sentence. The case was heard by the Court of Appeal, and at the end of the legal process, the judicial system in Barbados imposed 2 sentences on him. The sentences were fines of 500,000 Barbados dollars for being in possession of illegal drugs, 500,000 Barbados dollars for trafficking in illegal drugs, and the alternative for failure to pay those fines, a prison sentence of 20 years. So Mr. Garcia was fined. He was fined a total of $1 million Barbados currency to be paid, I think it was in 60 days, in default to serve 20 years in prison. Mr. Garcia was not able to pay the fine. If he had been able to pay the fine, he would not have served a 20-year prison sentence. Under our system in Barbados, if he had been able to pay a portion of the fine, he would have had his prison sentence reduced. Because in Barbados, you go to prison for a fine, even if you can't pay the entire fine, but you can pay a portion of it, you get a reduction in the time required to be spent in prison. So Mr. Garcia could not even afford to pay a portion of the fine. Hence, he spent a 20-year prison sentence right here in Barbados.